Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, then hit that join button if you're watching on a PC. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of appreciation and thanks to Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach is as Flat as the Earth, Chris Hillman, Dank, Dave Reckier Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Dick Earth Skeptic, Edwin Johnson, Owen Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, Godrockin, Henrik86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Ledrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Missouri Bear, Muted, NA Nitralist, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Rob H, Skeptic936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, theflatearthchannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So massive shout out, thanks and appreciation to all of you who support me on Patreon. Now, we are joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, including Brian, Arwin, and 10th Man in G+. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning,
Hello,
everybody.
Good afternoon.
One from Discord.
Hello, good to have you all of Discord. So, any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from any seashore from Earth.
I second that.
Wouldn't that be the dip angle?
Depends who you ask.
I said, wouldn't that be the dip angle that they claim is a physical edge?
Yeah, they claim they measured a dip angle to acquire the R value, and the dip angle was based on a 90-degree from your position up atop a mountain in the case of Alberuni, down to the claim to be physical sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve. And with that dip angle measurement, despite the fact it's currently being obfuscated and we're told that it's only measuring to what the fundies in the trench call the apparent horizon. Now that's completely redundant. All horizons are apparent by definition. However, they've separated out the geometric horizon and the apparent horizon so that they can claim that you don't see the geometric horizon, we only see the apparent horizon, even though Alberuni's claimed to have measured to it. That's a massive problem for them, not a massive problem for us. It just proves that they can never measure the geometric horizon. They even tell us it only exists in the maths now.
Yeah, but for the consistent dip angle, that completely craps on the horizon being in any way related to geometry.
Correct, but they're claiming that though, aren't they? Very much so.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it whenever they did claim that it was just apparent. It was like you just threw the whole toy away because you lost.
Yeah, calling it apparent is just a weaselly way of getting around the fact that you can't see a geometric horizon. Well, apparent's kind of harmless if it spills into actual rhetoric, because all horizons are apparent. So the moment there's not one of us around to say, well, your horizon's supposed to be a geometric physical sphere edge, they can just say, yeah, we're measuring the apparent horizon, which is geometric in this example. Even though at trench level, they're saying, well, to get around the fact you've got this black swan that proves it can't be geometric, we'll just agree with you. It can't be geometric. Well, then you can't do geometry. But they fail to recognise that that's the end of their argument.
When they say dip angle, I'm sorry, am I talking over someone?
You were talking. It's not a hallucination, 10th Man. It's all good. You're okay.
Okay. I see 10th Man talking. All right. When Alberuni factored in the dip angle, he was looking at the geometric horizon, supposedly. But then we find out he's really looking at the apparent horizon. All right. And then somewhere in between him and the apparent horizon is supposed to be this geometric horizon that no one could ever see. So how in the world can he measure the the radius of the Earth if you can never see the geometric horizon. All you see is the apparent horizon, which is where the sky seems to meet the water if you're looking at the ocean. And it keeps moving as you get closer to it. So it's not a real place. It's just a Jedi mind trick.
But to answer your question, although it was rhetorical, you can't. To do geometry or to measure an R value of a geometric claim to be sphere Earth, you're going to need to see a physical geometric sphere edge for your horizon so you can draw a straight line tangent to that point. So you're going to need to see it. You must see it. It's claimed you could see it until the Black Swan got here.
Right. So Al-Biruni said he saw the geometric horizon, and that's how the narrative was up until the Black Swan, correct?
Yeah, now that's just a massive gaping hole in the story, because he's needing a geometric horizon to derive his geometric R value from, and according to the people who argue with us, he can't see it.
Right, but these globies who are arguing with us must admit that Al-Biruni did see it if he measured it. But how come we can't see it?
He didn't. He can't. That's the end of their argument.
He geometrically uses the apparent horizon.
Well,
But
Globe
it's worse
surveyor
than that, though.
Jesse Kozlowski on my channel about a week or so, 2 weeks ago, stated, I'll see if I can get this verbatim, stated in a comment that the WGS84, which is the reference, the oblate spheroid reference for all of the globe, the WGS84 is, let me see if I get this correct, I'll try not to misrepresent them, a mathematical reference model. So,
You say a mathematical reference model?
yes, I think that is verbatim for what he says. I'm trying to remember it exactly. A mathematical reference model.
Is that another way of saying they don't
Referring to
account for
what?
refraction?
No, it's another way of saying that they presuppose the Earth is a sphere with maths.
Right.
Yeah,
In
that's what
the
I
same
hear.
way as they do not see a geometric horizon, but it's required to have one if you're going to do geometry. It only exists in the maths. So there's a geometric horizon in the maths.
But again, if it's in the math, then they should call it geometric thingamajig, because if it's a horizon, you should be able to see it.
Now you're talking my language.
Exactly.
Thingamajig.
Hold on, we've all ignored Brian's point. Hold
If it's a
on.
reference model, then it's a reference to what?
Hold on. Look, Brian's point's been danced over. So the surveyors follow this path. First, stand on a point on the Earth. Next, reference the WGS84 and say, where am I actually pointing in regards to a presupposed spherical Earth that I'm standing on? And then they decide that their zenith that they draw, that would be a straight line coming out the top of their head, that's actually pointing to the presupposed centre of an Earth that's spherical. And that's what the WGS84 enables them to do. So they put a little mark in the ground and say, this is where I am. This is where I am on the WGS84. This is what angle I'm pointing out into space and how my feet are pointing to the centre of the Earth. And that's where they begin. Now, when Validation Boy said every single claim to be sphere Earth proof starts with the presupposition you're on a sphere, this, the WGS84, is an elaborate version of that. It's just them begging the question. Assume you're standing on a sphere based on the WGS84. That's all it is. Right, Brian? That's your point, right?
Yeah, it's just pure pre-assumption and mathematics. What Nathan is saying there is 100% correct. That's what they're doing today with the use of GPS. But what they used previous to that was the ITRF, which is the International Terrestrial Reference Frame, which meant they put everything into Cartesian coordinates, just like GPS does. And then and this is from his own, Jesse Kozlowski's own words that he wrote into my channel. Into a comment on my channel, is that they then convert it mathematically to latitude and longitude, and it's the flattening of the WGS84 or another similar ellipsoid is converted. They convert it to the geographic latitude and longitude via the flattening, and then they turn it into the oblate spheroid. So even when they first convert it, it's converted into the flattening. It's basically converted into the AE map or something similar. and then it's turned into the oblate spheroid. The ECEF is what Nathan is talking about there, which is the current way, but they're using GPS and GNSS, where the zenith is brought to the center of a pre-assumed sphere from the very start, and then everything is put into Cartesian coordinate systems. Now, Cartesian coordinate systems are a box. So all the boxes must meet. The box behind that box must meet edge to edge, face to face. The box in the front must do the same. The box to the left, the box to the right, and each 4 boxes at each corner. So how do all these boxes that are all boxes and must meet and must be square and flat, how do they all go around the curve? They don't. But if you presuppose that the zenith to the center of all those boxes is going to the center of a presupposed oblate spheroid, then you can claim diverging zenith angles through mathematics.
Right, so it's a conversion process from a presupposition of an Earth that's spherical, either by way of WJS84 or ECF, which is Earth-centered, Earth-fixed, or GPS, Global Positioning System. In other words, it's all steps to presupposing you're on a sphere before you do anything. Just to assess where you're standing and what you're standing on before you do a damn thing. So it's just a way of begging the question.
Okay, so let's start with a globe. That's basically it.
Yeah, that's right, Arwin.
And then we end up with a globe.
How come they don't see that?
That was hard.
Yeah, we start with a globe. We do some stuff in between. People all glaze over as I tell them it because it's incredibly tedious. And at the end, when I say, and that proves the globe, people shake themselves a bit and go, oh, right, does it? They forget the fact that they've presupposed they're on a sphere to begin with, because they dance past that almost immediately.
So how come
they
they
pat each other on the back and say, brilliant, brilliant, yeah.
Go on, Nick. Go on, Neil.
How come they don't see that? I understand exactly what you're saying. Why are they not understanding
Oh, well,
that?
Brian asked, is that not a presupposition when you use GPS? That would be global positioning system. What was their answer when you pointed out that GPS, by way of a rhetorical question in this example, what was their response, Brian?
Yeah. I asked 2 questions, 2 main questions. The first one was, do you pre-assume a globe, okay, or oblate spheroid? That was my first question. The second question was, what is the origin of the globe Earth radius value? From 3 surveyors, I only got an answer from one of them, and that was the main surveyor. And to the first question, do they pre-assume a globe? I got the answer, just the word no, with nothing going with it, just no. And to the question, what is the origin of the globe Earth's radius value? I got the word measurements. That was it. That's all I got. No supporting evidence, no anything. So they don't, like the other 2, Jesse Kozlowski and this other guy, I think it's Larry Scott or something, they didn't even answer. They wouldn't answer. Multiple times I asked. It's not they don't know, they don't want to know.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Any signs of axial rotation?
Nope.
You got to have a globe first.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nothing's holding me down.
Not that I'm aware of.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Wait a minute.
First,
Net force is 0. Net force 0. I want to say it.
That's fascinating, Paul. Threats, maybe? Sorry, what was that outburst all about?
Parallax.
Well, if there's no acceleration, there's no force, right? So if I'm holding my feet on the ground, there's nothing holding me here. There's no force. But there's net force 0, so there has to be acceleration upwards and downward. So that's all I want to say, because that's the Glober's answer.
Which force is cancelling out which? What forces are we talking about? Or are they talking about, Paul? I know this isn't you.
Well, a force that doesn't exist, a force that is a force. And then I saw that video I posted over the weekend where time is the cause of gravity, because time moves slower at the top of my head, or slower at the top of my head than it does at the bottom of my feet, or vice versa. I can't remember. And that's the cause of gravity. So the conceptual medium that doesn't exist,
And has this
causes a
been
force that doesn't exist.
has this been validated scientifically? Has somebody varied this concept of time to scientifically validate that it causes what they're claiming is an effect we don't observe?
Of course not. It's mathematical. You
It's
have to draw a line
mathematical.
on a graph. You draw a line on a graph, and four coordinate system. That's what you have to do.
What did you say? Sorry.
You say time is moving slower at the bottom of your feet than at the top of your head.
Yeah, I also picked up on. Did you say 4 coordinates?
Of course, it's a four coordinate system. You got length, breadth, and width, and time.
Time's just a concept.
See, I know. I could be standing still in the four coordinate system, which means I'm not going forward, left, or right. But I'm always moving through time, and time moves faster at the top of my head than it does at the bottom of my feet, and that's what's keeping me firmly planted on the ground.
Right. When you say moving, what do you mean by moving through this concept of time? Moving implies movement, does it not?
Well, I'm moving on this graph on this line coordinate system, and time is one of those lines in this graph system that we use. It's that reference frame issue again, where I'm moving through this coordinate system.
Conceptual coordinate system that's claimed to be a cause. So it's both simultaneously the cause of something and the coordinate system. Is that correct?
Exactly, you got it, Nathan. You figured it out. We do understand this. We don't. They say we don't. I think we do.
And I don't understand it. I'm trying to gain clarity here, and I'm being told I understand. What the hell's going on?
Exactly.
Hang on. So
what's going on there is the. Sorry, you go, Tent. I'll talk in a second.
No, I said so. Basically, Paul, what you're saying is your head arrives at work before your feet do.
What if you walk into work doing a cartwheel?
Well, your work is a place. See, that's a place. That's in the length, breadth, and width. But it's not. That's not time. It's a different thing. So you can't. To go to my work that's a place in space and space. But I can stand and not move anywhere and move in time.
Well, if you're moving, what does time do? And if you're not moving, what does time do in their world?
Time doesn't do anything.
And in their world.
In their world, it doesn't do anything either.
No.
They just think it does something.
What this is about.
In their world, if you come in late, you're not on time, and you get a point.
What this is about is the startings of the globe side that we deal with, starting to learn about Einstein's theory of general relativity. Because in his theory of general relativity, the higher you go in altitude, the closer you're getting to the speed of light. So that's what they're starting off with, and they're completely wrong. As Albert Einstein, in his own words, state that that gravity is caused by the curvature of space-time by matter. So that claim that time is causing gravity is not what is stated by Albert Einstein.
Just to reiterate, there is absolutely zero scientific validity being given to the assertion made by Einstein that time, a concept, can be A, travelled through, or B, bent, or C, is the cause of anything ever. It isn't, and what he says is inconsequential. Just words. No scientific validity for gravity whatsoever. Zero.
Exactly.
If only Einstein came up with the flux capacitor.
Yeah, then he could vary time to validate it in an experiment as the cause of this effect of a phenomena that nobody observes. It doesn't happen in nature. So basically, no matter what you do, even if you've got a flux capacitor, this sits outside of science. It's merely the musings of Einstein written down in mathematical terms. It does not affect our reality in the slightest.
1.21 gigawatts.
Well, it's all math. It's all math. It's all calculation. It's not anything proven.
Math isn't a cause. Math can describe only. It can't explain, and it's not the cause of anything. Indeed. Moving on.
Sorry about that.
Timing.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not yet.
Seat of the pants.
Not ever.
Well, not yet is technically not
Guesswork?
ever either. So
Shout out to Cleary.
Well, this is a good segue.
Oh,
Can you go to Master B?
I can do, but I'm just going to do a quick shout out only because I watched this. So shout out to Cleary. He says, I flat smacked my mum. Lol. He did. And I've got to be honest, if you read my comment, Cleary, I was like, don't do it, don't. Oh, he's already done it. Oh. So check it out, Cleary. Thank you very much for the super chat. So Master B, yeah, I'm there.
All right. Well, Bev bought Dr. Becky's book, and it says Space, 10 Things You Should Know. 14 billion years for people short on time. Interesting.
Oh,
So it got on sale, and if you go to the first page of the preface, it starts right there. The wondrous thing about science is that nobody knows the right answer. But now, why would you ever buy this book if that's the preface?
That's her opener. Are you having me on?
Yeah.
Should we dwell on this for a
Wow.
bit?
Just read it.
Hold on.
She's
Let's
selling you.
go
Go
on,
ahead,
chocolate, go on.
Nathan. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so wow, the opening gambit is everything in here is gonna be nonsense because we can't know anything with science.
Okay, so this is the preface from Dr. Becky. It's worth the read. It's very short. I put all of it there. But go to the last slide. This is our good old friend Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he says, when different experiments give you the same result, it is no longer subject to your opinion. That's the good thing about science. It's true whether or not you believe in it. That's why it works. Those two have some problems to work out.
Right, should we correct Dr. Becky?
Sure.
well,
Please.
it's not the most outrageous thing she said, you know.
Hold on.
I think it was very smart what she said.
So
What's
she's
the name of the book?
made an error.
What's the name of it?
She's made an error on,
Space, 10 things you should know.
made an error on the
It is
second
Things you
word.
should know about the second law of thermodynamics violation. Copy that.
Hmm.
What she said there completely exonerates her from everything. What she said there means
Exactly.
that, like, oh, well, you know as much as I do because it's all a big mystery. That's basically what she said. And that way, so she can't be held to task on anything she's wrong.
Oh,
wrong
yes,
about
she
after
can.
that.
Yes, she can, and she will when I get a pause in the conversation. Yeah,
Okay,
she
shut
can. And she will be.
Go ahead.
Right here,
Have
right
at
now.
it, Nathan.
Okay, couple of things. Second word, wondrous. No. Science is an empirical method. It takes the wondering out of it. That's the point. It's an empirical method, Becky. I hesitate to call you doctor. So from now on, like Professor Phil Bell, just Phil. So, Becky, wondrous, no. Empirical, yes. Wrong in the second word. Science, that would be the establishment of cause and effect based on a hypothesis. That would be your presumption of a cause for a phenomena you observed in nature, yet to be validated. It will be validated upon experimentation. That would be you varying and manipulating the thing you think causes the effect to establish if it does or does not cause the effect. If it does, you have empirically, no wondering anymore, Becky, no wondering at all, empirically validated that which you assumed caused the effect as the cause of the effect. Science is empirical. If it wasn't, nobody would do it. Now, unfortunately, Becky's a pretender clown, a muppet, a pseudo-scientist who hasn't got the vaguest clue what science actually is. She thinks it's wondrous. Well, I'm telling her it's empirical. You complete clown.
Well, she also stated a while ago, in a very curious moment, that she figured out that everything contradicts everything, but that's a good thing. Remember that?
It gets better, Arwen. The second paragraph starts with, science is all about posing the questions to which nobody knows the answers yet.
Wondrous.
No, science is
Don't
about...
forget, though, this is
No,
what
wrong again.
astronomers do. They vary location, which means I can go over here and reobserve something in a different location, and I can wait for the clock to change in a different position, and I'm manipulating and varying stuff. Come on now. You guys don't understand this?
I'd just like to say, what I said about her being smart about what she said, what I meant by that is that obviously Nathan is correct, but what I meant by that is that any claim she makes about the sky, if she's disproven on it, she's already exonerated herself.
No, she hasn't. All she's done is declared her misapprehensions about what she thinks science is. Science is all about posing the question to which... I can't read, that's too dark. Nobody knows the answer yet. Convincing people... Again, no. There's no convincing required if you have empirical scientific evidence. You don't need conviction when you've got empirical data. Your conviction's irrelevant, Becky. Convincing people that there is a right answer, well, if you've got experimental validity, you have an empirical cause. You don't need to convince them. You don't need to tell them it's right. It is right. It's been validated scientifically. Theory is based on scientific experimentation, not about what you've convinced people's right. You build a theory after you do experimentation. That's what a scientific theory is, Becky. You and your colloquial use of this word when you're prefacing what science is an absolutely outrageous statement to make. You should be stripped of all accreditation. Theory is based on scientific validity, which is acquired by systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing natural phenomena for which you want to acquire the cause of it. Once you've acquired the cause of it, you can build a theory. She's clueless.
They all are.
I'm sure she'll get right on that after checking her emails to iTunes.
There's more pages. I take it there's more outrageous stuff for me to get my blood boiling about in this little
Yes.
book. What's the next page?
Yes. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff here.
Was there something on the next page, or was that it?
Well, let me go on here. Talking in the same one, science is all about posing the questions to which nobody knows the answers yet. Convincing people that there is a right answer. Okay. Based on evidence and facts you, your colleagues, and your predecessors have collected to build a theory of the previously unexplained is the crucial bit. This means that science moves quickly, with theories maturing and sometimes even boomeranging as more evidence comes to light.
Okay, so evidence in the scientific community does not just come to light. It doesn't come from discussion, peer review, or the opinions of people who think like Becky. They are scientists. They certainly don't move quickly. The only time they move quickly is when you validate that which you assumed is your cause as the cause. Then they happen instantaneously because you've validated that which you assumed. However, it still requires systematic experimentation to validate that which has been validated in your experiment. So it requires other people to follow in your footsteps, do as you have done with your experiment, and validate the cause as the cause. That's not a quick process. Far from it. Now, if you're making up stories and sitting around monitoring your iTunes and email claiming to be doing science, you can discuss something about the sky, come up with a story in no time, and call it science. It isn't. The process, however, is an empirical process you can utilise to form theory if you have scientific validity to that which you have validated with experiments. Moving on.
Yeah, well, let me keep reading because it gets good. I therefore might have misled you, reader, by saying the theories and facts outlined in this book are the 10 things you should know about space. They are all considered successes now, but who knows how they shall be perceived in 50 years. Perhaps our current theory of dark matter will be scoffed at by future generations, akin, here it comes, to our current disbelief that learned minds once thought the Earth was at the center of the universe or the atom could be split. Yet that doesn't mean we shouldn't treasure this knowledge now and wonders of our world that it lays here.
Oh, she just thinks that the dark matter theory is a scientific theory. Oh, well, Becky, let me be the first to correct you. That's absolutely not a scientific theory. It has not gone through the scientific method. The most you can do is observe phenomena. Not a theory. This is not science.
They take liberty with the word science and make it mean something it's not.
No. By using the word science when they have not adhered to the scientific method, there is a qualification and definition for that very thing. That is, by definition, pseudoscience. You're a pseudoscientist, Becky.
Yep. There's a lot more, but I think that's enough. I mean, everything else kills her.
Isn't Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity considered by mainstream science as an actual theory?
What, pseudo-Ramonian force space, you mean?
I'm just saying it, throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, because it is, and that's the problem. These things that aren't proper scientific theories are being labelled as.
No, they're not. No, it's labelled pseudo-Ramonian force space. It's very much labelled and categorised as pseudo. Precisely what it is.
But if you're somebody on the outside who doesn't know much about science, and you're told that Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity is a scientific theory, you're not going to know any difference between that and something that is validated.
You don't need the word scientific, you just say the word theory like Becky's done, claiming to be a scientist, and people believe you've got empirical evidence because you were taught in 5th grade what the scientific method entailed and what it produced. That would be empirical data. So when someone like Becky hijacks this terminology as the pseudoscientist that she is and says that she's got a theory, people automatically assume that she's got some sort of empirical evidence for what she claims. With this fast-moving, fast pace of people talking to each other to come up with their theories, which aren't scientific. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Not that I'm aware of.
Nope. Not even close.
Well, if it's
Not unless the Earth
presupposed,
is
we
only-
could just imagine anything in the core of the Earth, right? It's presupposed. It's up to your imagination.
No, it's up to evidence. Any evidence. Scientific, preferably.
Now you're asking too much.
Unless it only goes down 8 miles.
Too chocolate. When you said imagination, remind me of that Willy Wonka song.
Which one?
Imagination.
Okay, copy that.
And you'll see. That's the one, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
I don't remember.
That's a
It's
great
been a while.
song. It's a great song for the heliocentric people.
Tim Weiler. Yeah, brilliant.
Lick a schnozberry, tastes like a schnozberry. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure, that would be the stuff we're all breathing, without the necessary antecedent of a container. That would be the thing that gas wants to fill.
No.
Zero evidence of that.
Nope.
That concludes the housekeeping. The massive...
They're all messed up.
Go on. Go on, 10th man.
Oh, I said, I said, they're all messed up. They take words and change the actual meaning of it to fit any situation they're in. And they go from one lecture to another lecture with someone who's had a PhD before them and a couple of other degrees probably, and sit there and like a sponge. Ooh, dark matter. Ooh, quasars. Ooh, gas giants existing in the vacuum of space. They don't even question it. Like, how does that work with the second law of thermodynamics? I mean, they're not thinking. They're just puppets.
I was talking in the pre-show about that guy. Go on, Brian.
No, it's okay, Nathan. I'll talk in a minute.
I was going to say, I was talking in the pre-show about this guy I've recently come across called Thunderfoot, who goes around debunking outrageous claims of manufacturers and reviewers about products that they sell. And he was describing in one of his videos about a vacuum-powered, like, tumble dryer. And he was utilising a picture that was from one of the Apollo missions, Earthrise. Fairly common picture. People know what I'm talking about. If you don't, oh well. Anyway, he's got that picture up, and he explains how NASA had worked out the thermodynamic requirements for the men travelling to the moon. Yeah? So he's bragging about this with this picture of Earthrise. And in the background, obviously, you've got Earth, which is claimed to be a ball with high-pressure gas on the outside of it, sat in a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum from that vantage point, with the gas not dissipating into the space. So my comment to Thunderfoot was, isn't it interesting how we can calculate the thermodynamic calculate the thermodynamic needs of a person who will be travelling to the sky vacuum, and yet in the picture, Earth itself is violating the second law of thermodynamics. Isn't that interesting?
Did you get a response?
I don't know. I was talking about it, as I said in the pre-show. I've been thinking for a while, based on two things. First is the revelation that who is they? They is anybody who perpetuates this nonsense about us being on a ball flying through a vacuum in violation of natural law, spinning with no evidence of such, a claim that we can see Coriolis effect when we don't turn underneath anything that's in the air. So all of this stuff that we appreciate is punted by General Joe Bloggs Normie. Now, in the case of this dude Thunderfoot, he's actually out there aggressively debunking people who make up just so stories about products. Now, the globe's just a product being sold to you. It's also a religion. You probably don't appreciate that if you're on the side that thinks you're on a globe. Nevertheless, it's just a product being punted to you for reasons that you may not or may not appreciate. In any event, this dude who's saying, look at this guy, he called Unbox Therapy, I quote, the most vapid shill on YouTube. So clearly he's out there calling people shills, right? So he's aggressively attacking people for making up stories, whilst punting the rhetoric the priests of heliocentrism have given him about a sky vacuum, second law of thermodynamics violation, gas that's not filling it, whilst demonstrating to a guy with a vacuum dryer that that's not really how vacuums work. Oh, right, mate. But they work like that with Earth in space, do they? No, mate, that violates natural law, and I feel that it's appropriate for someone like him, specifically him. I can't think of any other examples, which is why I've put this out to my members, and if you're watching this on Tuesday, the people on Nathan Oakley channel. It's like, who else is there out there like this? Because we can't just go after Joe Normie, who talks about space. That's totally unreasonable. All right, they're just like the worker ants, if you like, in this scheme. I'm not saying people are like worker ants. I'm just saying in the scheme of the brainwashing of heliocentrism, they don't know any better. You know, so therefore it's unreasonable to go after that guy and say, look, you're just punting the rhetoric of this religion we've all been poisoned with. They'll go, whoa, 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 what have I done? All I did was say that the moon looks pretty and isn't it nice in the vacuum up there? What, you know what I mean? Whereas this guy's totally different. Thunderfoot is aggressively calling people out for making up stories. Oh, right. Well, he'll get praised for that, won't he? Well, when we point out the stories that you've all been lied to about, in this case your religion, you'll fight us. Well, I think it's time we expose this to the masses with somebody who's claiming to be a scientist. That would be Thunderfoot, even though he just does maths. But that aside, he seems like a very reasonable guy. And he understands when he's debunking the nonsense of people's claims about vacuums, how thermodynamic laws are applied. So, hopefully, if I'm carefully pointing out to him that no, your example actually includes a second law of thermodynamics violation, he might widen his eyes a little. He might not. He might just get very aggressive with me like the people he's dealing with when they're flogging their bullshit.
It's go on, Tent. I'll talk in a second.
No, that's it. I'm just agreeing. Go on.
Thanks. No, what I see it as is what I've been calling it privately to myself lately is it's just a tradition of pre-assumption that seems to be going on. It's a tradition of pre-assumption that started with some heavy fantasy suggestion, and maybes, and that became a pre-assumed fact without validation. And this is what's going on. And what Nathan is talking about, I hear, because I listen to stuff outside of Flat Earth, just for entertainment purposes. And one of the things I listen to is this channel, Bedtime Stories, I think is the name of it. And they do a really, really good job of telling, let's just say, scary stories or conspiracy stories or something kind of like, could be anything, could be a ghost on a ship story or anything, right? And I listen to this stuff and it kind of takes my mind off of things and lets me go asleep. But this channel, the guy who was narrating it, I noticed with him and I noticed with other channels I listen to and other things on television, they don't speak about worldwide anymore or across the world or the whole world. They are constantly, like trying to insert the word globe and the word global. And I noticed just because this is just referencing this channel as I listened to it only earlier, it's like they can't stop adding in the word global at the moment, and it's a pure, it's totally a response to us. They can't. You hear it on the news, you hear it in just YouTube media. You see it written down anywhere if you're reading and they're speaking about the world. It's always globe or global. They never say worldwide or across the world or the whole world anymore. It's always the word globe and global. You never see it or hear it any different anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you, that's the case, but that's definitely not as a reaction or consequence of us. That's just how the vernacular of the general populace is utilised. It doesn't mean that it's reacting to us.
Well, in an indirect way, it may be a general response tactic in the sense that, yeah, when we got so close with the truth, so up and close to the technicals with what we've done, and not just us here, but just the flat earthers, but flat earth debates a lot too, and people that surround us, they probably see no other choice than to try and just viscerally place the word globe as an essential core tool, a core fragment of language, to like put it everywhere, so that even if you don't think about it, it just like globe becomes a sub-language. Like, this is stage where we use globe a lot.
Perfect. Sub-language. We talked about this in the pre-show too. Subliminal messaging. So yeah, we've come full circle now. I mean, exactly, but you've just used the word sub in a slightly different context. But yeah, subliminal messaging. In other words, sticking globes absolutely everywhere. And it's not that it's happened as a consequence. It was always like that. You just notice it now. We notice it now.
But it is increasing, though. I can feel it too, what Brian said. It is being pushed a little bit extra, because there were people that just do like to use as many different types of descriptions when they use language, but it seems to become a more narrow pick, and globe is preferred by a lot of people in media to use that terminologies that have that in it more than say 10 years ago.
Well, it's on every header under each show. They're telling you that the show is talking about some old ancient belief of flat Earth. Be careful.
Yeah, I have to say again, in my defence and Armin's defence, that I literally, I have to question myself: am I being paranoid about it? And I do, but I hear them emphasising this word. The audio level goes slightly up when they get in the middle of a sentence and they use the word globe, and it comes blah 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 globe or global, and then they go back to the same let's just say the same audio level they were on, but they emphasize the word globe. It's emphasized.
You're gonna have to back that, man. As much as I want to believe you, if you can prove that to me, then I'll believe you.
Well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll put it into the audio software I have and see if I can see a noticeable difference when they say that word. It's not a bad idea.
Well, I notice a difference. I notice that they call what they preach as scientific. And then I see, and what attracted me to this show, particularly this show, is that we are saying, well, let's get the words defined and let's see what the word science means. And then the housekeeping questions were a big deal for me at first, because I'm saying, man, those are really well thought out questions. And all you got to do is answer them, and then we live on a globe. But they can't answer them. So this channel, instead of being labeled flat earthers, as we always are, it should be labeled truth seekers, asking in proper context the questions that would prove a globe, but no glober has come on and answered those questions. I mean, they get a double whammy
any
from
question
the show
you want
because
to ask, and I'll give you a globe's proof.
Okay, I'll start.
Guys,
No
I've got a
worries.
question.
No worries, I'll start. So, given that to do geometry, you would require a measurement to a tangent point. If that tangent point cannot be seen and only exists in maths, how can you draw to it?
What? Say again?
I thought you could answer anything.
Well, yeah, I didn't understand the question.
Well then you're useless to us. If you're too thick to understand what I'm saying, I'll just kick you out, you stupid idiot. Try and pay more attention.
I understood it.
Yeah, I understood it. It was very carefully phrased. He just needed to start off with an obfuscation, given that the question he's avoided on 3 separate occasions of being here was delivered so concisely that he needed a bit of time to think, so he asked me to repeat it by declaring how stupid and he was by not being able to understand it. No worries. Did anybody else understand it concisely enough to be able to repeat?
Yeah, I think I could remember it. I think what you said exactly was that for us to be on a globe with a radius of 59 miles, that you'd have to be able to measure to an horizon, and that would mean that we would have to be able to create a tangent to this horizon, but we'd have to be able to see the horizon to actually create this tangent to the horizon.
That's correct. So my question was in regards to Rumpus's claim that we never see the geometric horizon, that it only exists in maths. And my question was, how can you measure it to it then? Fairly simple question. If you can't see it and it doesn't exist, how can you measure to it? Fairly simple question. He just needed a bit of time to think about it, because you can't. The answer I'll give you. You can't measure to something you can't see and only exists in a mathematical model, because it doesn't exist to measure to. That's a very real problem if you've got a fundamentalist religious sphere belief that requires a geometric physical sphere edge to be the horizon, because currently you're all telling us you don't have one. So I would also ask me to repeat the question and say that made no sense, even though it was fairly concisely repeated back by Brian. He doesn't have an answer. He's been asked that question simultaneously over and over again every time he's been here for the last week. But every time I ask it normally, it gets obfuscated with him talking through Discord. That normally happens after a long, drawn-out questioning, with him admitting that we do not see the geometric horizon. Therefore, we cannot measure to it, as is claimed Al-Biruni did.
All game over, right there. It's only in a model, in a mathematical construct, and it doesn't exist in reality. So you don't have any proof of globe.
We don't need Rumpus anymore. Because what's he got? I can answer any question. So I concisely ask a question he has been asked no less than 3 times. That would be 3 separate occasions, not 3 times of asking. Probably in excess of 30 times of asking. But when I deliver it concisely with no audio chaos from him, he can't understand the question. So what use is he to us? He's thick. If you can't understand, okay. You can't understand a concisely delivered question that you've had 30 times previously. Okay, well then you're useless. You're too stupid to be here, Rumpus.
He sounds like Dr. Faulkner. He can answer any question until it's presented to him.
Well, clearly not. He just had a question presented, and apparently it was too complicated for him to understand, so he couldn't answer it.
He doesn't want to answer it.
Well, I've asked him in excess of 30 times on 3 separate occasions. Now, previously, as I've just said, he talked through that. He wouldn't let me concisely deliver it. This time I have. It's been replayed, half a dozen times on all those different shows. They were all repeated at least once. So it's been delivered to the audience multiple times. But he can't understand the question? No, he just doesn't have an answer. You can't measure to something you can't see. It's just that simple. It's the end of the globe.
Nathan, I know I've been on your show when he's been here, and you've asked it in excess of 30 times. In fact, I have a note here. Tuesday, the 19th of May, 2020, show 1169 at the 126 mark. Geometric horizon is the topic. Rumpus, quote unquote. It's not a visual one, but it is visible.
We do. We don't.
If this was a court situation, his solicitor would tell him, sorry, Neil, 1 second. If this was a court situation, his solicitor would tell him not to answer that, as it would incriminate him. Sorry, Neil.
I think they already incriminated themselves, saying we don't see a geometric horizon. We never asked them that. All we asked was, why is that horizon back there behind the second platform, further than 9 miles away? And all of a sudden their response became, oh, because we don't see that other horizon you're asking about. Oh, really? Okay.
Hey, Chocolate, let's not forget how important it is. It was the very thing that was blocking the bottoms of boats.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem if it only existed math.
Well,
how does math block boats now?
Well, that's true too. But if they used to use the geometric horizon to block the bottom of boats, and now they say it doesn't, then what was blocking the bottom of boats?
We are not going to see the geometric horizon.
No one's claiming that we see physical geometry.
It's not a visual horizon.
Of course, what Mr. Oakley will say is that we presuppose what the Earth is, the shape of the Earth. Well, yes.
That doesn't get old.
I love that. Well, yes.
That's funny.
Yes, we presuppose, guys. What did you think we were doing all this time, as you've been telling us for years we've been presupposing? It's a joke, man.
Everyone knows we're on a globe.
Well, if you can't accept what you see with your own eyes, and what the all evidence points to, if you can't accept that, then you're going to have to pre-assume some other nonsense. There's no way out of it. It's a psychological thing.
Got one of the
this group of people that we deal with is a very disingenuous lot of people. I mean, these are people who can't find their set of keys and saying,
Stop the Presses 2.0,
my set of keys.
May 24th,
because it's so far away, it looks so small.
We have the intellectual elites over on Jose JG Retard Show doubling down on their thesis defense that evaporated water is not a gas.
Have you considered evaporation? According to Nathan Oakley and Quantum Racer, the current science is water evaporates and becomes gas.
I know.
Yeah.
Statement I've ever heard, but yeah.
What do you call it, John?
I call it gaseous.
I'm sorry, I didn't know
not
that you were
gas.
joking.
So yeah, no, I'm not joking. They are joking. I am.
Globetard powers, activate. So we have the statement, water evaporates and becomes a gas, which elicits laughing and mocking from the entire retard panel. An outburst of laughter from Latonia Bailey, again, the newest member to the retard family. Pathetic from the Rhodes Scholar Brian Leakey. And Sean the Crackhead Hawkins calls it gaseous, a gaseous state, not a gas. And finally, the coup de grace from Professor Latent Unnatural Homoerotic Obsession with tapping on the whiteboard, Phil Belland, who responds to the claim water evaporates and becomes a gas with, "That is the dumbest statement I think I ever heard." So let's have a look-see from their alma mater wiki, water vapor or aqueous vapor is the gaseous phase of water. From the American Chemical Society, water vapor is the most important greenhouse gas. From NASA, water vapor is also the most important greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. From NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, many greenhouse gases occur naturally in the atmosphere, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor. From Science Direct, water vapor is the most important atmospheric trace gas. From Energy Education, University of Calgary, although invisible, water vapor is one component of the wet stream released. Water vapor exists in the atmosphere as an invisible gas. From Yale, Climate Connections, water vapor is one of the most important elements of the climate system, a greenhouse gas. In conclusion,
Okay, so the reason I've played that clip is because I was in the Uncut and After Show chat yesterday, and Phil Bell, who we just heard saying that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard after somebody declared that us saying water vapour is gas was stupid, that was what you heard. I'm going to play it again just so you can actually listen to what Prof. Phil Bell said, given that his response to me was to say, I never said that.
Current sciences, water evaporates and becomes gas.
I know. The dumbest statement I've ever heard, but yeah.
So that is the dumbest statement I have ever heard from a man who works in hydrology called Professor Phil Bell. He also lies and says he did not say that. So just want to clarify for the audience what a liar Prof. Phil Bell is. I'll also bring up him actually saying, I never said that. There it is, for the audience's benefit. I'll just make it a little bit bigger so you can all see precisely what Phil Bell, the liar, has said. Given that that was his statement, we have it recorded, we've played it several times. Now he denies any association with those complete bunch of buffoons who spent 3 days solid doubling down on their claim that water vapour is not gas. Now, Phil Bell was part of that little clan, and his statement that that was the dumbest thing he'd ever heard while they all had a good laugh at us saying it is on record and now denied by him in the chat streams. Because they're all liars. Of course. It's all they can do.
So that's interesting that he says that he never said that, because we obviously just heard him say that. But then if he did say that, then does that mean his compadres were wrong about water vapor being a gas? Because he just says clearly in that statement that water vapor is a gas. So are they confused amongst themselves? What's going on here?
Yeah, that's why I asked him to give us clarity. If I'm mistaken, maybe when he said that's the dumbest statement he's ever heard, what he meant was the people around him are incredibly stupid, but maybe they weren't smart enough to realise he was pointing out how dumb they were. But nevertheless, even though he's part of the conversation, they're all having a good laugh about how stupid it is to assert that water vapour's gas. He's egging them along while they all laugh, saying that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Something he now denies. And says, no, of course I understood that water vapour's gas. Well, why the hell didn't you correct them all, you complete muppet? If that's the case, it seemed to me like you were agreeing with them, and I'm pretty sure the audience will agree with me.
Did you see the last one I just put in Master B?
What did you put in Master B? 60 seconds
Sean
left.
Hawkins' statement from chat.
Yeah, that was...
What does it say? Do you want to read it out? I've got it up for the audience. Feel free.
Wait, I gotta go back to it.
This water gas thing. Go on.
It says, this water gas thing is all they have on me, and I only thought that for a day or two. Nathan Oakley still can't do a simple meters to kilometers conversion. That was Sean Hawkins.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, as there will be an after show to follow. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!